Welcome to Conscious Awareness TV. Today is December 19th, 2013. And if you haven't noticed, we have a new venue and a new time. So things are changing, things are shifting in the cosmos, in the consciousness. So, and it's like at this time of moving and changing, but the only thing that hasn't changed is Jeanie. We have Jeanie. Jeanie's become family now. We're more of like colleagues now, so instead of really being a guest on the show. So we're just going to talk about, are you happy? Happiness is the topic of today. So for any of you viewers out there who have a question, please be sure to write in your questions. And if you don't have an opportunity to write in your questions, live on our show, then you can go to admin@consciousawareness.tv.com and you can leave your questions there, and then we'll be sure they're answered next week. So let's talk about happiness. What a time. I mean, you know, when we talk about Christmas and the holidays are here, you know, I hear so many people saying now is the time we need to be happy and share the love and be kind to one another. Well, I say, well, why don't we do that every day? I mean, why aren't we doing this every day? Why are we only waiting until the Christmas time or Valentine's Day or special days or moments that we're really bringing love and happiness and being kind to one another and all that? So.
And we want to do that because, as far as I understand, there's more depression going on during the holidays, more stress than any other time. So if this is a time for a happy time, this might be a good time to consciously see what we might do differently or approach things from a different perspective, and maybe perhaps produce the very thing that we're speaking about here, because it's a miraculous time. Not just the birth of Jesus Christ, but it's a miraculous time. It's going into a new year. We're going into another cosmic experience here. So we just thought it'd be a great day to explore happiness. So are you happy, Linda?
Yes, I'm very happy. Yeah, you know, I think that, or not even really think, but I feel that it was interesting because you and I were talking on the way up here. I had mentioned about choosing happiness, and you had made a point that I hadn't really thought about, is that it's not really it's the mental that's choosing to be happy, but the emotions have to match that. Yeah.
So it's more a case of the mental's designed to back it.
Right.
You know, it really is our cheerleader. So it's the one to say, yes, let's seek happiness. Let's do what we need to do to be happy. But the actual being happy part isn't in its domain.
Right.
You know, like planning a trip to Hawaii. We can plan that trip, we can get the ticket, we can get all the stuff, but unless we get on that plane and go, we're not in Hawaii. We're still planning it. So the mental is so important. You know, that's why we want to have the show to consciously think, okay, how can I do this holiday season different? And then maybe, as you're saying, take it into next year and have it be every day or more often.
Right.
You know, and can it be sustained? Those are some of the things we want to chat on here today. So I'm going to ask you, what are some things that make you happy? Because there are things that help us feel happiness.
Well, I just happened to bring, and I don't know if the camera's going to be able to get this, but let me just kind of bring over here. I have some things because this is very interesting because we talk about happiness, and there's a lot of things that make me happy. And one thing, I'm just going to share this story because it's really a cute story, that when my kids were growing up and they were acting up, and I would put myself in timeout. So I had, when I was married to my husband, I had a 55-foot linear closet.
Let me interrupt. 55 feet?
55
long
Yes,
closet.
it was huge. Ooh. So I had a footstool in there. So I would get upset with the kids and I'd say, I'm going to go in timeout. My kids knew where I would go. And I would go and I would sit in the middle of my closet and shut the door. And I would sit there and I would just be like, oh my gosh, like I love you and I love you and all my outfits and my shoes, and I would think of different things to wear. So for me, and it's not just my closet, but I have so much fun in my closet. I love going in there. I could spend a whole day trying on clothes and shoes and just walking around and dancing and just really having a good time. But there's other things, sunsets, rises. So there's a lot of things that make me happy. Seeing other people be happy, a smile and someone else smiling. So there's a lot of things that make me happy. But I just happened to bring these because really, like,
I love it.
How could you not? We don't show our shoes, yes, but how can you not smile when you see these?
I was going to say.
I mean, really,
who says shoes can't make us happy.
Yeah, so I just thought I would bring those because it is something that does make me happy. So just to kind of give you an idea.
And I'm glad that you did, because we think, well, so don't have any things because we're supposed to be intrinsically happy. Well, we want to be intrinsically happy, but it doesn't mean it can't show up out here as well.
Well, that's a good question, because we had brought up too that, or not a good question, but a good comment. Remember, we were talking about too that these things can't make you happy. No. So it's the feeling that I get. Exactly. So that's the distinction. It's not that, oh, I get these and now I'm happy, because then I could get these and go, oh, well, I'm not really happy with those, or a moment. So, but it's the feeling, and that's with my closet. It's not necessarily the items that I have in my closet, but it's the feeling that I get when I'm in there, and the creativity and everything that kind of happens. So, so I think that's a really good point.
Yep, and you remind me of the fact that we don't realize there are certain things on this planet for each of us that matter more. And so I know if I'm going shopping, since I'm not a shopper, I want to go with somebody who likes to shop, because all that natural happiness is available to me. I look at the store and I go like deer in the headlights. Okay, but they're like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. Oh, and this one's on sale, and oh, this would be perfect with that. And I'm like, wow, because it's a realm that reaches you. So that's the thing, is that we're not trying to figure out what are these realms that reach us. So, me, I'm always talking about my magical natures, and it's why I speak on it, because if someone is unicorn or Elvian, when you're talking sunsets and when you're talking nature and animals, that really reaches them. And these are the people that do the Greenpeace activity and make us remind us that we live on this planet with the earth and with the animals. Right. So, and not so much on the thing, but I tell you what you angelics enjoy is beauty. Yeah. Now, I don't know about you folks, but that is beautiful.
This is like Vanna White.
This is a piece of art.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's very, I don't know if the viewers and listeners can really see, but there's all kinds of detail on here, and it's not overstimulated. Although when you wear this, you wouldn't want to wear this with something that's really got a lot going on up, your top or your pants or your skirt. So because the shoes really make a statement.
That's the truth.
But I one thing you said when you were talking about the unicorns and how it's in nature, if you notice that's really not getting something or having something, that's really going out into a place that exists, that brings it to us. Like when people go out there, because I love nature as well, even being an angelic. So being out there in nature, just the feel of the wind and the trees, and I'm in awe of all of that, and you think about the intricacy, I guess is the word I want to say, that how this was all created, and how everything has this purpose, and you're out there in the midst of all this.
Yeah, and we're able in the moment to feel good about ourselves, feel good about the planet. I just think in nature, we're so concerned as people, did I do it right? Did I do it perfect? Oh my gosh, all these extra thoughts where you don't look at a tree and go, oh, there's a leaf out of place. I don't think I can like that tree because they've got 2 dead leaves over there. I mean, for me, it's a reminder in nature how perfect what is. And as humans, we don't have as much of that. And then, of course, we have all this technology, and now we have all this stress, and we have wars, and we have traumas. And so there's the concern of, how can you really be fully happy when all this stuff is going on? So what do you think on that?
First, what comes up for me is really the definition of happiness. I mean, I think everybody has a different way of viewing happiness. So again, I think that really goes into, it's a feeling, not necessarily, but it's the alignment.
How would it be for you? I'm saying when you recognize and somebody asks you, are you happy? What are you looking to?
I'm feeling. I'm going into my feelings. I look into my feelings, and I want, I'm feeling like I feel happy. I feel this bubbling, this joyfulness. So for me, it's like that feeling of what puts a smile on my face. Like literally, you're, when you say, "Are you happy?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm happy." Cool. Or somebody could say, you could ask me, "Are you happy?" And I could say, "Yeah, I'm happy." I mean, really, you're going to know I'm not happy because the physical body will show,
happy,
or as happy. But I could be playing it off too.
That's true.
Hey, I'm pretty good about that. So
Well, I'm telling you, for myself, it's other people. So I recognize that for me, having friends, making new friends, even when I have to go and apologize because I was tired and cranky, but having the depth of friendship works for me. And I was reading an article when we were putting this idea of happiness together, that there's a group in Namibia is the name of it. It's a little African country, and probably not so little. And they have these people there that are known as the original people. That's what their name means. Wow. And so this person's putting this documentary together on happy. So here are these folks out there, and they're like wandering around, got big smiles. And one of the things that they said when they put it in English was, they said, we don't really care where we're going or where we've been or what we're doing, as long as we can do it together. And I thought, wow, boy, that sure hits the mark for me. Right. So I realized, a lot of my friends know I may leave them 5, 10, 15 messages because I was thinking of them, not because they had to call back or there's any rush. And they'll call back and say, gosh, Jeanie, thanks for the 15 phone calls. I go, oh, 15 was it? I must have really been thinking about you.
Right.
And they'll say, no problem. Thank you for thinking of me. And, and thanks for, putting me in your awareness, and stuff. And I thought that's really what it is. It's all that connection. And in this group, these original people, everything they do is together. So if someone's sick, they all get together and do whatever, the dance or the ceremonies with the kids to heal that person. So I thought, I think that's one of the things I've noticed as humans is that we've lost a little of that part of the connection, either to our community, to our family, to our immediate family and extended family, of the doing it together. Now, of course, you can't do that when you've got family members back east and things like that, but it just reminded me that the more you know somebody, the less likely you are to be distressed by them. It's the not knowing when we kind of take offense, and that affects my happiness, if like, whoa, what do they mean by that? When if I know them better and they're tired, I'm going to go, wow, they're tired. So for me, that affects happiness, because happiness and gratitude and forgiveness, kindness, these all go together for me. It's not like one arena. But I can see also that if you think of it in totality, then being happy is also when things aren't going well. It's not that I'm happy it's not going well, but I'm happy that whatever's going on, we're now recognizing as people that there might be some learning in that, or there might be some awareness that our larger self or the God self is trying to reach us. And I don't think that we're ever wanting to harm ourselves, but I think sometimes that occurs if maybe I don't catch the first message. Maybe I get a little message, I'm tired and I really shouldn't go out, and then something happens. So I'm just myself trying to pay more attention, kind of slow it down enough. I joke because I've traveled a lot. So you look forward to a town, you get to the town, you enjoy yourself, and then you leave the town. And I'm looking in my own life to want to look forward to something, have the experience, and then be able to tell people how wonderful that experience was before 15 replace it.
Right. So. And it's interesting too, because I know, just through my life that I've heard people speak about recreating the same experience, because you were so happy in that experience, and it's like, if I could only just recreate that experience. And we know it's like a painter, or you can't paint the same painting twice. You can't step into in the river and have the same effect. It's just not going to happen. So to recreate it, and my thought around that is like, wow, like to have the experience of it being so much bigger and better than that, that moment that it was great and you were happy, than to have the next time that it be so much bigger and you're like, wow, I didn't think it could get this big or this better, So I think that's really kind of interesting too. And something you said about this group, it's interesting because they did a documentary about happiness. Who does that?
I don't know. And I guess what's so
that's
amazing
great.
Is that we've for so long, we're so, focused on the negative emotions. Right. I'm thinking, if you're going to have a balance, really we're after a balance. Right. You got to also have a lot of awareness towards the positive ones.
Absolutely.
Isn't that cool?
And something else too, as we're talking about happiness, what just came to me, and I feel like someone's asking me to ask this question, is about relationships. That, because you mentioned balance, right? And we go into relationships and there's so much that, whether it's intimacy, an intimate relationship, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a friendship, it doesn't matter, when you're in the grocery store. So especially in the intimate relationships, we're wanting the other person to make us happy. And there's this class that I went to years ago about that men just want to make you happy. They just want to do everything to make you happy. And you know, I thought that was really good, but then when you really think about it, well, what about them? I mean, they just want to make you happy, but like, what about them? They have to be happy too. So it's not all, they're giving all of us the happiness, but I think there's a balance. So I think that's a really good kind of lead in to give our viewers and listeners about really this conversation about relationships and wanting the other person to make us happy, because we know that this is all about, this whole life experience is really about growing and us and ascending in our own consciousness and being able to, but it's an inside job, you know.
Whoops, I know, that's the dumb word. Well, I find there's two things when it comes to relationship that I don't think have been consciously thought on enough.
Right.
One of them is we want to be heard. And I had to laugh because, again, you know, I'm always relating to these perceptual viewing places because they do relate to how we interact with ourselves and others. And just this morning I heard somebody who's a dwarvian, very steady nature, likes to take a minute to then speak, talking with a fairy nature that I could hear on the phone. I didn't hear the actual words, was not giving the person a minute to speak. So if you're going to feel included, you'd like to at least feel like that you can say what you have to say. But again, doing these little mini surveys, I've noticed that we don't all speak at the same pace. So, you know, I'm just saying, here's Linda and I. So we have an angelic, we got a wizard. And I say in the 6 essences that they pair up. So this is the pair you've got here, angelic and wizard. And I can tell you, I don't mean to, I get excited or what, but I talk over and I'm like running along before the other person even finishes their sentence. Now, what is that? Now, in my work, there's a different reason, but that bad training means in life I'm not a very good listener if I'm already conversing before they've even finished. So I want to say that I think we have a pace, you know, and you talk unicorns, they're very gentle and they ponder things more deeply and they take a moment to share it. So their Elvian counterparts who are more gregarious and, you know, and tricksters and stuff can easily, you know, whisk right past them.
Right.
And the fairy dwarvian are opposites. That's what they represent. But still, even in that, it doesn't mean that we don't want to be heard. So sure, we fast talkers talk fast. But for a minute or two, button it up. Let the other people talk. If you're going to relate, if you're wanting to have a relationship, if you're wanting someone to let you know what they've been thinking, they might like them into thinking.
Absolutely.
And the other topic, I know we can get back to this, but the other one is, it is helpful if we have something that's bigger than the relationship. You know, we're finally realizing there's enough issues on the planet and people who need help, and we're here to help each other. If in our relationship as a partner, as a business or whatever, that our business is about, you know, expanding out and helping others, I think that does a world of good to our feeling good about ourselves, feeling happy, feeling productive, feeling included. So, what do you think?
Well, I think too that when you talk about happiness and relationships, what comes up for me is in asking my partner or a friend or a business partner is what makes you happy. And I think when you have, or not think, but I feel, and I want to go back to that instead of thinking, because it's, you know, it's really about feeling and not thinking about thinking.
But it's just the term you're used to using. And most people say, well, I mean feeling. Well, you didn't say it.
Yes. So I'm saying it. But to, you know, ask that person, what does make you happy? And really getting to know that person on a completely different level, because I feel that when we go into relationships, we think we know them, but then we really don't get an opportunity to really get to know them. It reminds me of that movie Avatar, and in that there's one point in that movie, and it's towards the end, if it's not the end, that they come together and they say, I see you.
Oh, yes.
But it's not really seeing them as this external. It's really seeing, you know, you talk about in a relationship, whatever relationship it is, about being heard, but it's also about seeing. Do you see me? Not just the physical, but really see me for who I am. And so when you can say to someone, I see that you're such a giving, compassionate, loving, and all these, you know, really things that you see about that person, and then they're feeling you, that's where I think the connection happens as well. Absolutely. So it's really getting to know, you know, the other person, and again, whatever relationship it is.
And that all has to come if we're enough in ourselves.
Absolutely.
So if we don't have enough self-worth, or we don't have enough whatevers, then it's hard when we go to relate to offer up to them what we haven't given ourselves. So when we talk about internal and consciously raising, okay, am I seeing that my needs are getting met? For me, I'm in charge of that, you know? And I was telling Linda the other day, it's like we don't have like the brochure that says not only do we have a say in our own life, we have the controlling interest.
Right.
We have the most say in our own life. So if we're not able to produce that or ask for assistance or speak up or be seen, you know, that then sort of gets lost in the waylay of routine life.
Yeah, absolutely. So. You know, something else just came up because you talked about giving when you give, and you're just giving for the sake of really giving. And oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention this because it occurred to me, this new venue that we're in, we really want to honor and thank Teresa Hill for this sacred space that we're in, because it really truly is a sacred space. And you know, look for further information on that coming next year. And a lot of great things are happening again with this change, with the new venue, the new time, the time in the sense of time and really the consciousness, the cosmos, the shifts and everything that's happening. So it's just awesome. You know, it's beautiful.
And in addition, we happen to know it's not even just a beautiful spot. It's really a retreat environment. So Teresa's really looking at the possibility of having this place be a retreat, the kind of thing that you can come and bring whatever, you know, healing modality that you are, and feel what we're feeling here. Feel this wonderful, heartfelt, dolphin infiltrated, you know, sunset miraculousness just in the furniture, in the air, in the space. And
the space is very magical.
I know,
really magical.
I know.
So, you know, you talk about in giving, so it's in that, you know, it's in that where the growth comes in within yourself, but to feel and just do something because there's just wanting of giving. So, you know, remember I was making those pies.
Yes.
So,
So we have major pie maker.
Yes, we don't know if to call me Betty Crocker or Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. I have no idea what we're going to call this, but either way, Betty Crocker, Willy Wonka, doesn't matter. But I spent yesterday making these pies. I make these pies at Christmas time, and this is something that is really, you know, it just really makes me happy. And I think that, you know, not just at Christmas time, but I do this at Christmas time, and it's really giving to these, there's places like Discount Tires that they...
Where you get your tires.
Where I get my tires. They're so good to me. You know, they know I'm a single woman, and they're just so... They're just there for me, and I really love that. There's Master Automotive that, you know, I could hit something and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. Can I bring my car? And they're like, absolutely, bring your car in. Massey Nissan, you know, I'm in there, I get my oil changes, and you know, it's expensive, and so they really work with me, and you know, you and Alan and other people, Teresa. So I make these pies, and they're absolutely delicious, but you know, a lot of love. And I but I feel that as well, that when we're doing stuff like that yesterday, or any time that I'm doing something in that giving, there's so much love that goes in that. There's so much gratitude. I can't even explain to you. So when you eat these pies, just know that there's so much love, there's so much gratitude that comes in those. And I gift these at Christmas time, and these guys look forward to this. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. You know, last year we didn't even get a chance to put it in the freezer. And so, you know, again, it's not just at Christmas time, but of course I just make these at Christmas time, but I could make them all the time. But I think it's in those moments of daily, when you make a phone call, when you are walking down the street and, you know, you give a smile to someone else, you open the door, can I help you? This is all stuff. And when more people they go inside and they do this work that, you know, it is hard, it is difficult. You know, I've had that experience myself, and just still having that experience of going inside and constantly working. But I am so dedicated. Thank you. Yes. So dedicated to do this work, because this show and raising the consciousness so that everyone comes from their heart and they're open, and when you're in that space, that there is this love. You're doing what you love. There is no war. There is no fight. There is no hatred. They're loving Mother Earth. They're not trashing the Mother Earth. This is what's important.
Yeah, and I want to go on to say that we could easily say, oh, but that's not possible. And I just recently saw a quote from Mandela. There's certainly plenty of his quotes, but one of them is that things are only impossible until they're done.
Yeah.
So when you start coming, and the heart says anything's possible. Doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow, or it might need a few tweaks and stuff. It's saying that we're going to keep striving for making it a reality, a true reality. So that's the thing. And when someone looks to someone like that who's so optimistic and it's just so, like a fairy type of everything's possible, we've poo-pooed that bit of news because we've said it's not realistic, it's not responsible, but in truth, it's the best news we've ever heard. So it's about time that we all look to our own life and see consciously, how can I add to my happiness today? Now, here's the difficulty, which is, like I said, you can't just keep it. So how do we sustain happiness? I mean, how does that happen? And I think that, because I put a lot of thought to it, because I've worked with people who are having to clear out things they're not happy about. Right. And that's why I say, once we can really own what has worked and is happy to us and what isn't, then there's nothing to distress us. And that produces a balance. I'm thinking of that movie, The Dark Crystal. It's done with the Muppets, kind of, puppets.
I haven't seen that one.
Well, it was put out a long time ago by that Muppet person. I forgot his name.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
I know that.
But there were two, groups. There were two facets. They were the Om folks that were all spiritual, and then there were the, I don't know, I just use the more schmucky folks, the not so cool folks. And it took these little people to get those energies together, and what occurred was a light being. So I'm saying, when people say to me, Jeanie, you talk over me, you don't let me, talk, and I say, don't I know it, man? I live here. You have to put up with this stuff, I'm trying to do better, because I don't want happiness just to be here. I want it to be here. I want it to be here, because happy people are less likely to bother other people. Are we the same? No. Do we shop at the same stores? Of course not. Do we think the same things? I hope not. But I think we can accept and appreciate and be happy that there's some diversity here. That some people aspire to be an attorney, some aspire to be, a save the whale person because they know the value of the whales. And other people know it's important to get our legal things handled. I don't want it to be one way or the other. I want it to feel like we can all contribute.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You were talking about, when we talk about passion and doing, and we've each come on this earth, we have this great gift, and to bring it forward. My youngest son has this professor. Well, he had this professor a couple years ago, and what he taught the students was that the first thing he said is that if you take a sunflower, which needs to be in the sun, and you plant it in the shade, it will die. So this is like your life. If you are a sunflower, make sure you're in the sun. So saying, if you're going to be a lawyer, don't be a lawyer for your parents. Be a lawyer because you want to be a lawyer to defend or help people. So it's, so I really think that when we start to feel into what it is my great gift, and not do it because our parents and society or whomever. So I think that's really important as well. But something else that you had mentioned too that I wanted to get your thoughts on, because being in happiness, okay, we've got a war going on, right? And there's poverty and there's hunger. So I, for the viewers and listeners out there, they've probably got people out there saying, well, what about this going on? How can we really be happy when all this stuff is really happening around us? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, nobody's happy about any of that stuff.
Right.
But my thoughts, again, like making something possible. We all watch people. We think we just listen to what they say, our parents said, or the teacher, but we really watch folks. We're watching to see if what they're saying is how they're acting. Right. So what my thinking is I don't want to promote those things. I want to promote what's good in all of us. I want to be able to promote a space where somebody who's experienced some of those things might know just how much we appreciate. So I was talking with my cousin the other day, and this is about those acts of kindness, those random acts. And she's so awed by her love partner because, they went into a restaurant the other day, and there was a military family. And at the end of their meal, he disappeared or something, and she went on outside. And later, she just happened to, briefly say, because he mostly doesn't say. She asked him where he went. He said, "Oh, I just went in the kitchen for a minute. I just wanted to let the folks know that when those meals came for that family, that that's already paid for." Wow. So he had gone and just paid for it, and it wasn't like, "Oh, look at me, and aren't I a great person?" And my cousin was just saying how odd she is that she gets to watch, watch the love in action. She gets to watch and the happiness on those people's faces, because all they could see as they were leaving, they were just kind of like, well, wow, they didn't know who to thank. It wasn't like that.
Right.
But, it is that moment. And so when we talk happy, you have to be talking love, and you have to be talking connection, and, and you have to be talking gratitude.
Right.
I mean, honestly, that's one of the things about cleaning out our closets and things, because here in America we have a lot of stuff, and we're certainly welcome to have it. We've earned it and we've worked hard for it. But if we have stuff we're not using, that might be a good opportunity to offer it to someone else. So,
right. Yeah. Well, my thoughts are too on the war and hunger and all that. Is that if we, instead of having peace marches and things like that, it's like being the peace. And when we start to really go within, you're going to see all that dissolve, because once you go in and you are filled enough, and then you're overflowing, then this all does make a difference. But if we're consciously thinking war, what are we creating? War. Because we know that our thoughts create things. They are particles. And so that's how everything got created, was through a thought. So what I say, is to be very mindful, and I know, we can talk about the mind, but is to be very mindful, very conscious. Yes. Being very conscious about what are we saying? What are we expressing? Because consciousness does mean how are you being and why?
But it's actually, how are you expressing yourself?
Right.
That's the part that's conscious, because really what connects all of us is heart. It's invisible.
Yeah.
It's an invisible, but you can feel it, you know it, and you can tell when the words are emanating it and when the words are devoid of it. So it's not, when you say thoughts create, they cannot without this invisible connection. So whether you think this is all oneness, whether you think, you're one, but at least we're one with ourselves, or maybe we're one with our family, maybe we're one with the community, anywhere you experience the oneness, you're going to work more towards seeing that happiness and joy is everywhere and not just on your own doorstep. So when you say inner work, that's what I kind of think. The inner work is expressing ourselves out here by being the joy, and by being forgiving, and by helping out, say in a fender bender situation, saying, oh gosh, well, here we go, and coming from a more we're in this together kind of a feel. So,
So it's including, because something else that just came up for me too. I was with a friend the other day, and fear. I mean, she was literally afraid to talk to somebody in the elevator.
Oh, wow.
Because what if that person could, or even when I parked my car, I parked in between two larger cars, and she said, oh no, you need to move your car because nobody's going to be able to see you when we come out. And I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not even in my consciousness. Let's not even, let's reel it back in, No, we don't want that in our consciousness. That's not in my world. And I think that's important to say, that we, other people's projections, and we can take those on and bring them into our world. But I love how you're saying that, because it's about that indigenous group in Africa. It's really about including everyone. So we're including everyone. And I know, and even in your work and just in general, is that what I'm learning is to include the good, the bad, and the ugly.
There you go. And they made a movie about that.
Yes. That you're including everything. There's things you're not going to like. There are things you're not going to, are going to be sad or happy. But it's including all of that in, and knowing that even in the ugliness and even in the bad, there's still this, to see the beauty. To really see the gift.
Opportunity to consciously see how, if there's a way to include it. Because I really see consciousness, I see this heart energy is like a cork. We are naturally happy people. You wouldn't know that on this planet, but we are by nature natural happy people. So if that cork is pushed down because of how we've been treated or what we now believe about ourselves or others, then we don't see it. So, we're not going to see that energy. But if we can somehow take that lid off, the judgment on ourselves, the judgment from somebody else or on somebody else, and for half a minute let the cork raise, then we've produced more enthusiasm. And since emotions work in the now with our physical body, we've produced more energy. Because enthusiasm is going to boost how we see it, how we're holding it, if we can expand our perception or not. So it's an intricate kind of thing, but it is innate in us. again, an idea that has yet to reach the surface, but it's coming.
It's coming very soon, yes. I think next year's going to be a very different year.
Of course. Well, next week we'll chat on all that. That'll be so fun. But it's about letting our natural enthusiasm. And that's why I say, for some of us, in our natural enthusiasm, we roll all over somebody else's conversation because we're so excited. Right. And that's lovely. But in a relationship with another person, a world unto themselves, it's also nice to give them a chance to show you how they express their happiness. Right. You know? And it will be at a different pace, maybe a different tone, certainly different words. Right. And again, that's the thing, is that we're all wanting to fill up so we have enough to offer some of that to another. And you're right, that the best phrase, you said it earlier, is, how can I help you?
Yes.
And really, how can I help you? Not like, what does it mean to me and how's it going to affect me?
Or how can I get back?
How can I help you?
Right.
Yeah. So that to me is a nice phrase to boot have.
Yes. So. You know, something else you had talked about too when we were driving up is about how we plan happiness ahead of time. You know,
we try.
It's like, well, you know, going on a trip or whatever, but it's interesting because we do. You know, we have these ideas set ahead, and it's like, oh, you know, I'm going to be happy when I get that car. I'm going to be happy, you know, when all this is going to happen soon. And Eckhart Tolle talks about living in the now, you know, which is really interesting because you can only be happy in the now, in the moment.
Yes, but you've said it really accurately. Our talking about the now is a lovely conversation.
Right.
But actually being it is right. So I see we have a question.
Yes. Is perfection the only way to happiness? Wow. Well, you know, I have to make a comment on that one because honestly, and thank you for the question too, perfection. I used to be a perfectionist. I'm not, there's probably just a little bit still there. But perfection was really important to me. Like everything had to be just perfect, you know, the way the dishes were loaded in the dishwasher. If my kids, you know, I'd ask them to load the dishwasher. And then they didn't load it the way I wanted it loaded, right? So I would rearrange it. The toilet paper, it wasn't. Now, I mean, this is still really.
I still do that to this day, so go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have to train you differently, but no, I mean, you know, at one point I thought, okay, wait a minute, I'm asking them for their help, but yet, what am I saying to them? That what you did is not good enough, right? So in that moment, I was like, wow, like this is a shift in my own consciousness. And I thought, does it really matter if the dishwasher gets loaded? It gets loaded, you know. And it doesn't matter if the toilet paper is almost that way, but you know, not necessarily. So is perfection that way to happiness? Absolutely not.
And that's really important. And I think it's how we most of it is having every place, and so nobody notices one has managed to be done with it. And I think the truth is things are, but they're really the way they are is the way they are. But put value that way, and then the thoughts appreciate perfection, which means here might be a place, or so again, some of these things that you speak on with conversation, a lot of times we don't have conversations. We haven't thought what they actually mean. So I know me and the dishwasher is I feel better, and I'm not even thinking how does that happen now? You know, my thought is I just actually find a move around the dishwasher or something like that. And we don't realize these that the other person is you know watching us in the dishwasher. So it must be odd. But that person other stuff comes up front is so you get it not good enough and easily perfection having everything just so nobody says I can actually rearrange the dishwasher. Right.
What are your thoughts on it? Because the viewers and listeners are says that you know, it's said that we come in as perfection because we are a part of creation, right? Part of the oneness is perfect. So we are being. So in that sense, you say, you know, are we just perfect? Well, that's when I ask the question. But perfection, you mentioned perception. So perfection, we're already perfect. There's nothing missing us, and us already perfect.
That hard part is just life and how you have things like we all do that is now the ticket for me. But the same thing
yeah, I know that. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, she's like, be happy. Yes, share with them. So they're asking how. Let's put my bunch of music that I'm thinking. Let's see what you're doing. Like flowers, maybe when you do them, there's more sound that the happy moment. We've got Jeanie back next week as well, and we're gonna be talking about hopes and dreams, reality. Go here. I mean, wait a while. Yes. Always New Year's resolutions, things like that. So tune in next week, December 26th. Back, and we'll be back in space. 12:30. You guys that haven't watching today, starting time for 12:30, 1:30. And so thank all our viewers and listeners out there who joined us today, tuned in, and I want to thank Teresa for helping us stay space here. And truly is a magical place. We'll look forward to hearing more about that. We have that. So tune in. Yes. Wrap it up. We're putting all of that.